Forbidden connection, a moment of vulnerability and desire. In the dimly lit room, the air was thick with unspoken tension. The young policewoman stood at one end, her gaze locked with that of the older woman seated across from her. The criminal's calm demeanor contrasted sharply with the storm of emotions swirling in the officer's chest. "Do you always have to look so strong?" the younger woman asked, her voice trembling with a mix of curiosity and defiance. Her question hung in the air like a challenge, daring the older woman to respond. The mature woman tilted her head slightly, a soft smile playing on her lips. "Strength," she said in a voice that was both gentle and layered with meaning, "is just a matter of perception." The young policewoman's breath hitched. The criminal's words, though seemingly simple, stirred something deep within her, a longing she could no longer suppress. She hesitated, her fingers curling into fists at her sides, as if battling an invisible force. "I know I shouldn't do this," she murmured, her voice breaking slightly, betraying the internal conflict she was trying so hard to conceal. The older woman leaned forward, her gaze unwavering. "But you still want to," she said softly, her tone carrying an undeniable certainty that pierced through the younger woman's defenses. As if drawn by an invisible thread, the young policewoman stepped closer. The room seemed to shrink around them, their world narrowing to just the two of them. When their lips met, it was tentative at first, a gentle brush, as if testing the waters of the forbidden. But within moments, the kiss deepened, growing more passionate with every passing second. The older woman's hand moved to cup the younger woman's face, her fingertips lightly tracing the curve of her jaw. The touch was tender yet electrifying, sending shivers down the officer's spine. The kiss wasn't just a meeting of lips, it was an unspoken confession, a release of emotions they had both kept bottled up for far too long. The room, once heavy with silence, now seemed to hum with the echo of their heartbeats, a rhythm only they could hear. Time lost meaning as they surrendered to the moment, their fears and doubts momentarily forgotten. When they finally pulled apart, the young policewoman staggered back a few steps, her hand instinctively covering her lips as if to hold onto the sensation. Her eyes searched the older woman's face, now etched with a softness that mirrored her own turmoil. She started, her voice faltering as she tried to find the words to make sense of what had just happened. Instead, she took a deep breath, straightening her shoulders in an attempt to regain her composure. The older woman stood and took a step closer, her movements slow and deliberate. Her eyes locked onto the officer's with an intensity that spoke volumes. "Sometimes," she said in a low voice, "what we're not supposed to want is exactly what we need." The younger woman's resolve faltered for a moment, but she nodded, her gaze dropping to the floor. "This changes everything," she whispered, more to herself than to the other woman. "Perhaps it does," the older woman replied, her voice steady. "But some things are worth the risk." As the policewoman turned to leave, she hesitated at the door, glancing back over her shoulder. Her heart ached with the weight of what they had just shared, but a small, hopeful smile tugged at her lips. She didn't have all the answers yet, but for the first time in a long time, she felt alive. Behind her, the older woman stood quietly, watching her go, her expression unreadable. In the silence that followed, both women were left to grapple with the consequences of their actions and the undeniable truth of their connection.